The Witcher 3 is a game set in an already established universe. It's the continuation of 13 short stories, 6 novels, and 2 video games, yet it's the most common starting point in the franchise, and that's for good reason. Well aware of the new players the game would be drawing in, CDPR did their best to make the game as new player friendly as possible by doing things such as making choices from the last 2 games have minimal effects. But there's only so much you can do when trying to make a game in a world with so much pre-established lore and history. It's nearly impossible to respect existing fans while also trying to make a game that can be a jumping on point for new ones. That being said, CDPR does an exceptional job in reaching that balance. Even still, The Witcher 3 can be overwhelming, to the extent that it can even become boring. I remember struggling to keep playing on my first playthrough until suddenly, I wasn't. Suddenly, I couldn't stop playing. So, what causes that change? To find out, we have to start at the beginning. The game starts with Geralt having a dream. In the dream, you're introduced to key gameplay features and some of the main characters, like Ciri and Yennefer. While it's certainly not enough time to get to know them in depth, you get to know their relation to Geralt and how much they mean to him. The dream ends with the Wild Hunt coming after Ciri, which also happens to be the main plot of the game. As for now, Geralt and his fellow Witcher, Vesemir, are on Yennefer's trail. The game more or less picks up from where the second game finished, with Geralt regaining his memory and searching for Yennefer. What led him to this point isn't all that relevant. What matters is that he's looking for Yennefer and he's only days behind her. So, what's the problem? If anything, it sounds like the perfect introduction, and it is. By this point, you have a solid idea of who Geralt is and his goal. The search for Yennefer is the game's introduction, set in a small region called White Orchard. The rest of the world building is fairly organic, unfolding through interactions like a casual conversation between Geralt and Vesemir, as well as NPC dialogue and behavior. You quickly find out that there's an ongoing war between the Nilfgaardian Empire of the south and the regions of the north, and many, like the people of White Orchard, are stuck in the middle of it. Anyways, Geralt and Yennefer are eventually reunited, and the two of them, along with Yennefer's Nilfgaardian escort, leave for the occupied city of Vizima, where Geralt has been granted an audience with the Emperor of Nilfgaard, who is also Ciri's biological father, Emhyr var Emreis. On their way to the palace, they're attacked by riders of the Wild Hunt. Turns out Ciri's been sighted for the first time in 5 years and has the Wild Hunt on her trail, and Geralt's the only one who can find her. Emhyr provides Geralt with 3 fresh leads in 3 different regions, Velen, Novigrad, and Skellige. So now it's your job to search those regions for Ciri. While at the palace, you also get the chance to simulate your Witcher 2 save if you haven't played the game. Now, as you can imagine, that's a lot of information. Ciri, the Wild Hunt, Emhyr, the war between Nilfgaard and the North, Triss Merigold in Novigrad, and Geralt's relationship with Yennefer. It's a lot, but here's the thing, it's really not that important. The main thing you need to know is that Ciri's back, and up until this point, you've been shown numerous times what Ciri means to Geralt and how important it is that he finds her.
I'll do it for Ciri, not for your gold.
Follow in Ciri's footsteps. As for everything else, they're spread out throughout the game and resurface one by one, and that's if you choose to follow up on them. For example, you don't have to worry about the romance plot with Yennefer until you go to Skellige. As for the inward politics and the war, they're never really at the forefront of the story, except for certain quests, like plotting Radovid's murder. Usually, they work in cohesion with another story to add more nuance and depth, like Triss dealing with the Mage Hunters in Novigrad. Just like the real world, the effects of the war and the decisions made by rulers aren't exclusive to any one topic. Their effects are visible all throughout the world, whether it's in the war-ravaged lands of Velen, where it's caused endless famine and destruction, or the Redanian witch hunters burning non-humans at the stake. You can see the impacts of the war all around you. And if you happen to be interested in that stuff, then there's this guy at the Vizima Palace who you can talk to find out more about what's going on throughout the world, and more specifically, get an idea of what to expect in the regions you're going to visit. Which brings me to my next point, the explorable regions. The Witcher 3 is a long game. It can be even longer if you want to do all the side quests, and contracts, and explore all the points of interest, which, by the way, nothing in the world could make the POIs in Skellige interesting. Those I have no solution for. They're by far the most tedious part of the game, and clearly they're there because none of the devs could figure out how to fill out the map. But I mean, at that point, just don't. Anyway, The Witcher 3 can be a long game. To keep things fresh, you've got 3 regions that vastly differ from one another. Starting off, you've got Velen, No Man's Land. It's plagued by famine and war with death everywhere. The peasants here are clearly not doing too well, with the most frequent conversation you can eavesdrop on being one about a mother having to leave their kid out in the wilderness because there were too many mouths to feed.
Sent my young'uns to pick mushrooms yesterday.
To the woods? Alone?
You know how it is. Had too many mouths to feed.
What kind of mother are you?
More food for the rest now.
You can even come across abandoned kids on your own. You can see firsthand how desperate the people of Velen are. Most people are barely surviving, and the ones who are doing good are most likely in debt to the crones, which comes with its own complications. As for the quests and contracts, a lot of them are about some curse or another and how someone from a village is missing. Velen's atmosphere isn't exactly one of sunshine and rainbows, which makes crossing the Pontar to Novigrad even more interesting. In my personal experience, leaving Velen was when I really started to be engaged with the game, and I feel like that's kind of the point. Velen is by no means attractive. It straight up looks miserable to live in, and the closest thing to a happily ever after is dying as you kiss the cursed spirit of the love of your life because you thought she was dead, even though she only seemed dead because she drank a potion that would make her so, leading you to leave her paralyzed body in the tower on the cursed island where she actually dies after she's eaten alive by mice. So as you can imagine, no one's really keen on staying in Velen, especially when just across the Pontar you have Novigrad waiting for you. The Novigrad region is vastly different from Velen. Where in Velen, you could see the entire landscape stretching ahead of you, in Novigrad, you are surrounded by walls and buildings towering over you. While the city itself is much smaller than the region of Velen, it's so incredibly dense and detailed, making it seem just as large. As for the people within it, while they might be doing better than the ones in Velen, they still have their own problems. The free city of Novigrad is on the edge, growing increasingly less free by the day. As discrimination and racism towards mages and non-humans get worse every day, the city becomes more and more hostile, with most people out only for themselves. Gang wars across the city, serial killers, the Redanian army. While Novigrad may seem appealing from the outside, you'll quickly find out that that may not be the case, and that's really the strength of The Witcher 3. It's subtle with its storytelling in a way that doesn't dump everything on you all at once. Instead, the world around you is for you to take in as you go about exploring at your own pace. Through its environment and atmosphere, the game gives you clues about what different areas and the overall world of The Witcher is like. It was like that for White Orchard, Velen and Novigrad, and it's just the same for Skellige. It's really about staying in the moment and taking in the world as you go through it rather than letting the vastness of it overwhelm you. It's no different when it comes to the story. Despite how it may seem with all these pre-established characters and lore, the story is actually pretty self-contained, and that's because the plot, especially in Act 1, couldn't be simpler. You check up on all the leads on Ciri to try and find out where she is. These leads get you involved in self-contained stories like the one with the Baron, which starts and ends in The Witcher 3. That's pretty much how the entire first act goes. Smaller chapters that have their own story, which eventually get you closer to finding Ciri. Now, some of these chapters do get a little complicated, like the one with Triss and Novigrad, but they also become more clear as you play through them. As for Ciri herself, as Geralt learns more about where she's been, you get to play as her in small segments so that by the time Geralt finds her, you're pretty familiar with both of them and what they mean to each other. As long as you take the story one step at a time, you can stop it from becoming overwhelming, and the character writing, especially for Geralt, is more than good enough to keep you entertained. Now that we've gone over the story and the world, there's just one thing left, the gameplay. For the most part, the gameplay in this game is really solid. Exploration is always fun, using your Witcher senses to find clues is, well, exactly that. Dialogue options are engaging. With skill upgrades, you can use a Witcher sign to make things go faster, and the game usually respects your intelligence enough to use the information you learn through dialogue options to go about dealing with a quest. Your decisions always feel like they matter, and whether you're a longtime fan or someone new to the game, putting yourself in Geralt's shoes is never boring. All of that sounds great, but what about the elephant in the room? What about the combat? Some games have a combat system so interesting that even if everything else is mediocre, the combat alone could be engaging enough to keep you playing. That's not the case for The Witcher 3. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as saying that the combat is one of the main reasons some people may find the game boring and end up dropping it. It's pretty basic. You've got your fast and strong attacks, long and short dodges, a crossbow for aerial enemies and underwater fights, and Witcher signs that can stun, push, trap, and set enemies on fire. There's also a sign that can give you a shield. Like I said, it's pretty basic and doesn't take much skill, but here's where things get interesting. On higher difficulties, it still doesn't take much skill, but now it's anything but basic. On harder difficulties, you need to know who you're fighting and how to exploit their weaknesses. Some enemies are weak to certain signs. For example, you can use the yield sign to slow down specters, making them tangible and opening them up for hits. Aside from signs, you also have your potions, oils, and bombs. You can equip a specific type of oil to do additional damage to certain enemy classes. The same goes for bombs. Potions get a little more interesting. Potions and decoctions give you different effects, like slowing down time or doing extra damage, or increasing sign intensity, and so on. You can choose which ones are best for your playstyle and the scenario you're facing. Now let's talk about the skill tree. You can only equip 8 skills at a time, so once again it's down to you to choose skills that suit how you want to play. For example, if you're someone who uses a lot of signs, you can equip skills that give you more sign intensity, or even an alteration to how you can use your signs. To take it a step further, you can even look for armor sets that boost your specific style. The best and most efficient armor sets are the Witcher School ones, and each of them is made for something different. Overall, there's a lot of depth and nuance to the game's combat and RPG mechanics. It's not so much about how skilled you are, but more so about engaging with all of the game's systems and mechanics. The Witcher 3 is a game with a lot of depth. At times, that depth can even become overwhelming and confusing, like trying to figure out all of the game's crafting mechanics and just the story in general. The best approach is to try and take things one step at a time and stay in the moment. If you're someone who was put off by The Witcher 3, then I hope this video helped convince you to give the game another try. Even if you're someone who's never played the game before, now's a good time to give the game a shot. It's a genuinely great game, it's my favorite game of all time, and with The Witcher 4 revealed and likely coming out as early as 2027, there's no better time to play The Witcher 3. I hope you found value in this video. If you happen to be interested in The Witcher, I've got a video coming up on The Witcher 4, covering all the news and the upcoming CDPR earnings call that should give us more info about the game's release date. With the Game Awards also coming up, we may even get another trailer. I plan to cover all of that in depth, so if you're interested, then I think you should consider subscribing. Anyway, that's about it. Thanks for watching.